The purpose of this presentation is to provide an overview of the Tyler model and explain the value that it can be for an academic institution. I'll briefly begin by explaining the historical context, as well as then providing the specific steps in which the Tyler model is built upon, and then provide some benefits and challenges to the model. So to begin with, the historical context in which the Tyler model was found was during the 1930s, during the 8-year study. It was right after the Great Depression, and the United States was going through a challenging time from a national standpoint as well as an educational standpoint. Dewey's influence with progressive ideas had evolved quite a bit, and at this time there was an opportunity that the Progressive Education Association identified and identified an opportunity to evaluate the system and compare it with regular traditional schools. So the origin of the model originated with the 8-year study and was formulated and written specifically in a syllabus at the University of Chicago where Tyler was teaching. And eventually it made it into publication in the book that Tyler wrote in 1949 called The Basic Principles of Curriculum and Instruction. The prevalent ideas of the model revolve around behavior and content, and specifically looking at objectives that guide the learning experiences, and the learning experiences create the environment that allow for certain outcomes to be had. With that, the rationale that supports these ideas are four main questions. And the first question is, what educational purposes should the school seek to attain? What educational experiences are likely to attain the purposes? How can these educational experiences be organized effectively? And how can we determine whether these purposes are being attained? The main components of the model are first, determining the objectives, identifying the educational experiences, organizing these experiences, and evaluating whether or not the objectives were met. It's a very linear and prescriptive approach because it includes a clear sequence of steps of how and what the curriculum should look like and how it should be developed. It's deductive in terms of demonstrating and beginning with a broader mindset of the needs of the students, the society, as well as the subject, and those ultimately lead to the instructional objectives. The sources for educational experiences revolve around the student and the society and the subject. The student specifically, the needs of the students need to be met. The society provides the framework or the context in which these objectives should revolve around, and helping students understand what they're going into within society. And the subject, this will be specific, but it should also be overlapping and intertwined with the other subjects of the institution. As the model evolved, there's an expanded model that includes screens that also help develop ideas within this framework. So it begins with the sources, with the broader idea of the students, the society, and the subject, and this allows for tentative general objectives. From there, the screens that include philosophy of education and psychology of learning are also critical. The philosophy of education revolves around the idea that every student is important, no matter their age or race or social class. And the psychology of learning revolves around the age and developmental level of the student. From here, precise instructional objectives can be identified and created in the selection of the learning experiences, or organizing these experiences, and then directing the approach for these experiences, and eventually evaluating the learning experiences. There are both strengths and weaknesses to the model. The strengths revolve around being clearly stated objectives. It also involves the student, the society, and the subject, and it's rational. It's simple and linear approach for instruction of both behavior and content expectations. It also has its weaknesses. There's a lack of correlation between components. It could limit students based on the selection of objective or skills chosen to implement to instruct. And it could be possible that there's a narrow interpretation of objectives based on one's own opinion or philosophy. Thank you for listening, and I look forward to hearing everyone else's presentation. Thanks.